The restaurant went silent the moment the billionaire started speaking. His voice was calm, measured, and smooth, but the language rolling off his tongue made the manager's blood run cold. Elegant, rapid Mandarin Chinese echoed across the polished marble floors, confusing the staff and drawing curious glances from wealthy diners seated under the soft golden lights. The manager stood frozen beside the table, his forced smile slowly collapsing. Because he understood exactly one terrifying truth. No one in the entire restaurant spoke Mandarin. And the man sitting before him was not just any guest. He was a powerful international investor who had just arrived unannounced. The manager's palms began to sweat. If this went wrong, the restaurant's reputation, his career, everything could collapse in seconds. But what happened next would shock everyone in that room, and change one woman's life forever. Before we continue this incredible story, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to the channel if you believe that everyone deserves a second chance. Because sometimes the most extraordinary heroes are the ones no one notices. The restaurant was known across the city as one of the most luxurious places to dine. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen stars above the tables, and waiters in spotless uniforms moved with quiet precision between wealthy guests. Everything was designed to look perfect. Except the woman quietly mopping the floor near the back hallway. Her name was Lena. Most people barely noticed her. She wore a simple gray Maid uniform, her sleeves rolled slightly above her wrists, her hair tied neatly into a low bun. Her shoes were worn and faded, the soles thin from years of standing on hard floors. To the guests, she was invisible. Just another cleaner. Just another worker who slipped quietly through the building long after the wealthy customers had finished their meals. But Lena carried a past no one here knew about. And a secret no one could imagine. At the center table of the restaurant sat Mr. Chen, a man whose presence commanded attention without effort. His tailored navy suit was flawless, and the silver watch on his wrist probably cost more than the manager's yearly salary. His calm eyes studied the room with quiet intelligence. Mr. Chen was known in international business circles as a visionary investor who had built technology companies worth billions. Tonight, however, he was simply traveling. And he had chosen this restaurant for dinner. Unfortunately for the staff, he had chosen to speak Mandarin. The manager, Robert, tried to maintain his professional smile as Mr. Chen spoke again. The words flowed quickly. Robert caught none of them. His mind raced. The restaurant had servers fluent in French, Spanish, and Italian. But Mandarin, no one. Robert nodded awkwardly, pretending to understand, while panic tightened in his chest. Other diners were beginning to watch the uncomfortable scene unfold. A waiter whispered that Mr. Chen seemed to be asking a question about the menu. Robert felt the situation slipping away from him. If the billionaire believed the staff were incompetent, the damage to the restaurant's reputation could be devastating. He desperately searched the room for help. And that was when something unexpected happened. From the quiet hallway near the kitchen, a soft voice spoke. Clear, fluent, perfect Mandarin. Every head turned. Standing there was Lena, still holding the cleaning mop. She had spoken with such natural ease that even Mr. Chen's expression shifted with surprise. The restaurant staff stared in disbelief. The maid, the invisible cleaner. Robert blinked as if his mind refused to process what he had just heard. Lena stepped forward politely and repeated the sentence, translating calmly for the manager. Mr. Chen had simply asked which dish the chef recommended that evening. A simple question, but the relief that flooded Robert's face was enormous. He nodded quickly, giving the answer through Lena's translation. Mr. Chen listened carefully, then smiled. For the first time that evening, the tension in the room began to dissolve. But now curiosity had replaced confusion. Mr. Chen studied Lena with quiet interest. Because her Mandarin wasn't just correct. It was exceptional. Her tone carried the subtle rhythm of someone who had spent years immersed in the language. This was not something learned casually. And it certainly wasn't something anyone expected from a restaurant maid. For the next several minutes, Lena gently translated between the billionaire and the manager. Her voice remained calm, respectful, and precise. The staff watched in stunned silence. The woman they barely acknowledged each day was suddenly the most important person in the room. Mr. Chen asked thoughtful questions about the restaurant, the city, and the chef's specialties. Lena translated each sentence flawlessly. And with every exchange, Mr. Chen's curiosity grew stronger. Finally, he asked a question that made Lena pause slightly. He asked where she had learned Mandarin so well. The restaurant grew quiet again. Lena hesitated. Because the truth was something she rarely spoke about. Years ago, before life had turned difficult, Lena had studied international languages at a university known for its global exchange programs. She had spent 3 years in China as part of a scholarship program, studying linguistics and international communication. Her professors once believed she would become a translator for international organizations. But life had taken a different path. A family illness had forced her to leave school. Medical bills consumed everything. Her father passed away shortly after. Without her degree, without connections, and with debts piling up, Lena had taken the only job she could find. Cleaning. Day after day, night after night, slowly fading into the background of a world that had once felt full of possibility. She rarely spoke Mandarin anymore. No one had ever asked. Until tonight. As Lena explained this quietly, Mr. Chen listened with thoughtful silence. He didn't interrupt. He simply observed her carefully. Because talent, real talent, was something he recognized instantly. And Lena had it. The calm intelligence in her voice. The discipline in her speech. The humility in the way she stood without seeking attention. These were not qualities that disappeared just because life became difficult. Mr. Chen asked a few more questions in Mandarin. Lena answered naturally. The conversation grew deeper. Soon they were discussing Chinese literature, cultural traditions, and the subtle differences between regional dialects. The restaurant staff watched in amazement. It was like watching two scholars speaking. The billionaire and the maid. In perfect conversation. For the first time in years, Lena felt something stirring inside her. A forgotten confidence. A memory of who she once hoped to be. But she remained humble, because life had taught her not to expect miracles. When the meal ended, Mr. Chen thanked the staff politely. Then he turned to Lena. His expression was thoughtful. He reached into his briefcase and removed a business card. It carried the name of one of the largest international consulting firms in Asia. He explained calmly that his company constantly needed translators who understood both language and culture. People who could bridge worlds. He asked Lena if she would consider an interview. The manager nearly dropped the tray he was holding. The staff stared in disbelief. Because what Mr. Chen was offering wasn't just a job. It was a doorway back into the life Lena once dreamed of. That night, Lena walked home under the quiet glow of streetlights, holding the card carefully in her hands. For years, she had believed her future was sealed. That opportunity had passed her by. But sometimes life surprises us when we least expect it. Sometimes kindness opens doors that talent alone cannot. And sometimes the world finally notices the quiet strength of someone who never stopped trying. Before we reach the ending of this story, take a moment and comment one word below. Kindness. Because sometimes one moment of kindness can completely change someone's life. 2 months later, Lena walked into a modern office tower wearing a professional suit instead of a cleaning uniform. She had passed the interview. Mr. Chen had personally recommended her. Her new role involved helping international teams communicate across languages and cultures. The work was challenging, but every day she remembered the moment when her life quietly changed. The moment when someone finally saw her. Back at the restaurant, the staff still talked about the night the invisible maid spoke perfect Mandarin. But the truth was far more powerful. Lena had always been extraordinary. The world had simply taken time to notice. And if this story touched your heart, take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that remind us how kindness can change lives. Because sometimes the most powerful voices are the ones we almost never hear.